The five ways, or Quinque Viae, of Thomas Aquinas are five arguments for the existence of God that he presents in his Summa Theologiae, Prima Pars, Question 2, Article 3. These ways draw heavily on Aristotelian metaphysics, adapted and expanded within a scholastic and Thomistic metaphysical framework. The first way is known as, in Latin, as Via ex motu. This is the way from motion or change as evidenced in the world. There are certain things that are in motion, or motus. This does not merely refer to local movement, but by any actualization of a potency, potentia. Everything that is moved by something else. The principle of non-contradiction, an axiom of Thomistic metaphysics, along with the principle of causality, says that nothing can be in a state of potency and in act at the same time and in the same respect. So for a thing to move itself, it would have to be in act and in potency, as moved with respect to the same motion. This is a contradiction. What is moved must be moved by another. Furthermore, an infinite regress of movers, moving agents, is impossible. If this were the case, there would be no actual motion at all. Each subsequent motion would be dependent on the previous one. There needs to be a first mover, or primum movens, to remove the causa efficiens, or efficient cause, is to remove the effect, or effectus. One must therefore arrive at primum movens immobile, or first unmoved mover. This first mover would impart motion without itself being moved. This is what men call God. Also, this first mover must be actus purus, or pure act, entirely without any admixture of potency. Potency would imply susceptibility to being moved by another. The second way is known as via ex ratione causae efficientis, or the way from the efficient cause. We observe in the physical world in ordo casurum efficientium, or order of efficient causes. There is no known instance where it is even possible for a thing to be the efficient cause of itself. It would have to exist before itself, which is a logical absurdity. Moreover, you cannot proceed to infinity in a series of efficient causes. There needs to be a prima causa efficiens, or first efficient cause. Consequently, there would be no causae intermediae or effectus ultimi, that is, intermediate causes or ultimate effects. All of these are dependent on the first efficient cause for their own causality. Thus, it is necessary to posit a first efficient cause which is itself uncaused. This uncaused efficient cause is what men call God. This first cause must also possess within itself the perfectio entis, that is, the perfection of being. This first efficient cause possesses the perfection of being and the ultimate source of all beings that have ever been caused. The third way is known in Latin as the via ex possibili et necessario, or the way from contingency and necessity. The third way observes that among agents, some are possible to be and some not to be. In Latin, possible to be and not to be is possibilia esse et non esse. That is to say, they are contingent beings, or entia contingentia. These things are generated and corrupted. This means that at one point they did not exist, and at one point will no longer exist. If everything were merely contingent, then at some time there would have been nothing in existence. That which does not exist can only come into existence through something that already exists. This is why that if at some point there was nothing, there would even now be nothing. Thus, not all beings can be contingent. There must be something whose existence is necessary, or ens necessarium, a necessary being. That is, a necessary being either has its necessity from another, or it has necessity from itself. Yet, in infinite regress of necessary beings, each deriving its necessity from another, is not possible. We must thus arrive at a being that is necessarium per se, that is, necessary per se, having the cause of its necessity within itself, rather than from another. This is the ens absolute necessarium, that is, the absolute necessary being. This is God, the cause of the necessity in all other necessary beings. God is also, it should be noted, ipsum esse subsistens, that is, subsistent being itself. The fourth way is known as via ex gradibus entis, or the way from degrees of perfection, or the way found from the gradation in things. Among agents, we find what St. Thomas calls gradus entis, that is, degrees of perfection. This includes more good, more true, more noble, and the like. These degrees imply a standard by which or against which they are measured. Speaking of more or less refers to a greater or lesser participation in a maximal state. That is, what is most good, most true, and most noble. Things are said to be hotter than other things as they more closely resemble that which is maximally hot. Thus, there must be something that is maxime ens, or maximally being, that is, maximally true, maximally good, and maximally noble. Aquinas also notes that whatever is maximum in a genus is the cause of the rest in that genus, i.e. fire, which is maximally hot, is the cause of heat in other bodies. God, therefore, is the cause of all being, goodness, and every other perfection that beings participate in. The ultimate standard and cause of all perfections we call God. This ultimate perfection is not an abstract concept, rather an ens subsistens, or subsisting being. This subsisting being, or God, is the causa exemplaris, or exemplar cause of all perfections in creatures. The fifth way is called in Latin via ex gubernatione rerum, or the way from the governance of things, or the teleological argument. St. Thomas, following Aristotle, says that every agent acts for an end, or finis. St. Thomas will defend this in many places in his corpus. For example, the beginning of the second part of the Summa, and in chapter 2 of book 3 of his Summa Contra Gentilis. This includes even agents devoid of cognition, or cognitio. For example, an arrow is directed or teleologically ordered toward the end of reaching the target, as directed by another, i.e. by the archer's intention, so that agents that lack cognition cannot be moved towards an end. Unless they be directed by another, the arrow does not aim itself, it is aimed by the archer. Thus there must be a supreme governor of the world. Some intelligent being exists which orders all other agents to be directed teleologically to their ends. Aquinas calls this first governor of the world the gubernator intelligens, or intelligent governor. This intelligent governor directs all things to their ends. This we call God. This also implies providentia divina, or divine providence, and a causa finalis ultima. This is the ultimate final cause of all creation.